Hey everybody, it's Mark, Dr. Deadwax, and I'm back for day 4 of the Inbox Challenge. Today's numbers were picked by totheboyelis. Hey, thanks Henry. Today we are brought to you by Founder's Breakfast Stout. This is a double chocolate coffee oatmeal stout. It's made by Founder's Brewery out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've had this before, and this is an awesome beer. It's like completely light absorbing, and it's a stout, and it's unbelievably delicious. Even my wife loves this beer. It's like 8.5% alcohol, and you can taste the chocolate, you can taste the coffee, you can taste like the oatmeal. I know on the beer review sites this is one of the few things that gets like a 99 or 100 with like hundreds of reviews, and it still averages that high. You can't drink it at fridge temperature. I take it out of the fridge like for about 25 minutes, about an album side, and just let it sit in the bottle and then open it up and drink it. And fantastic. So let's get on with today's numbers. So Henry picked 5, and I'm going to do 5, and away we go. The first one is Brother Jack McDuff Live, and this is on the Prestige label. Sorry, I'm coming down with something. Picked up something yesterday at crate dig, and I have no idea what it was. But this is on the yellow Prestige label from Bergenfeld, New Jersey. And this record, it's a first pressing, so that's really cool. I picked it up. I paid $2 for it. It has like -A and -B stampers. It's got some scratches on it. It's mono. It's a little crackly. There's a couple spots where it has a bit of a tick, and I think it might jump once. But I mean, I picked it up because the record was almost white, like gray, before I cleaned it, but now it's like this beautiful shiny black vinyl. So the routine obviously gets things clean. Anyways, I just couldn't leave this. It's $2. Covers pretty good. The record looked a little rough, but oftentimes with these old records, you just get lucky. And I gotta say I got lucky on this because it's mono, and when I put on the mono defeat switch on the preamplifier, it just totally knocks a lot of the crackle out of it. But the beauty of the record is it's got a lot of crackle, like a lot of low grade crackle that goes away when the music's playing, and it doesn't have a lot of those other issues that you can get with a beat up record that are they're over top of the music. So when you're in between tracks, it gets a little noisy. But anyways, it's great. Jack McDuff, Red Holloway, George Benson, and Joe Dukes. And it's a pretty good record. It's not Jack McDuff's best record, and I'm not sure how live these were. The live feels almost canned, but I guess they were live. Some of the songs are a little bit lacking in like just true brilliance. There's Whistle While You Work from Snow White, and that's okay, but some of the songs are just standard Jack McDuff Hammond organ, monsters. So his records are always kind of that way. He's got a few that are just gems the whole way through, but quite often, there's hits and misses, and this has got mostly hits and a couple misses. And $2 for an original prestige, even if the vinyl would visibly grade VG minus, I'd say it plays VG, so I'm happy with that. And Henry picked a couple numbers that were in sequence, and they came up in a little bit of a Jack McDuff buying frenzy I found one day. So this is a much later Jack McDuff record. This is still in shrink. This is the Reentry Jack McDuff. Jack McDuff with Houston Pearson, Ron Bridgewater, Cecil Bridgewater or Cecil, John Hart, and Grady Tate. And this is actually still in shrink. This is on the Muse label. And this is the, I'm not sure if it ever came in different colors, but this is the blue Muse label. And this has Van Gelder in the deadwax. So Rudy Van Gelder was the engineer on these, and Cecil Bridgewater, no, Ron Bridgewater, I believe, was the, no, I'm wrong there. Houston Preston was the producer, and he's one of the saxophone players. So, this is 1988, and a lot of these, I find a lot of the recordings on Muse, they sound excellent. Van Gelder's involved, I think, in almost all of them, and they have like good production value, but the music is often lacking in, it's just not always that great. They're often, I'm not going to say usually, but they're often older jazz giants who are kind of, doing dates to continue careers. These guys are, often in their late 50s, 60s, 70s. They're getting up there. This is a great record. This is, I mean, there's a couple dogs on here, but there's a couple tracks on here that are fantastic. And Captain Jack, which he liked to be called Captain Jack in this period and not Brother Jack. But Captain Jack is a fantastic song. And Walking the Dog is just that classic blues, soul, jazz, Hammond organ romp. Now 100 Ways is just like almost schmaltzy. Like it's got that schmaltzy sax that was around in the 80s, a little smooth, not, that would be the throwaway track on this album for sure. It's got a kind of a romantic saxophone song at the end of it called Laura, which is not schmaltzy in the same way. It's more of a smoker, I think they're called. This is a great record. If you see this record, Jack McDuff, the Reentry on Muse, and you can pick it up for like 10 or even 15 bucks, I would recommend it. I mean, it's a digital recording, but it still sounds great on vinyl. And yeah, the Reentry. He'd been away for 4 years, hadn't recorded anything. Let's just say that's what the Reentry means. Next is the Jazz Butcher Conspiracy. The Jazz Butcher Conspiracy. The Jazz Butcher went by like so many names, but so the Jazz Butcher Conspiracy, Distressed Gentlefolk. Third or fourth record from the Jazz Butcher, and this is a Canadian pressing with the inner sleeve. This is on Mercury. I used to listen to a lot of Jazz Butcher. It wasn't this record, and this record's okay. I really like the last couple songs on side 2 a lot. The rest of the record was just okay. This was not the record I was hoping it was. They have a better album, and I'll continue looking for that. And I'm not going to keep this one. This one's on its way out. I don't know if you want this, Henry. If you do, you're welcome to it. Let me know. This is a dollar bin record all day. I picked this up in a dollar bin at a show. So, oh, the other Brother Jack McDuff, I paid $8 for the one on Muse. So Jazz Butcher, it's okay. It's kind of 80s social, maybe a little socio-political, new wave post-punk, slightly Billy Bragg, but not as folk as Billy Bragg. Like I said, if the whole record was as good as the second half of side 2, I'd keep it, but I kind of was like, this I like, but the rest of it, I won't listen to that record again, so away it goes. The next is Lightnin Hopkins, the King of the Blues. I'm not a real fan of the blues, and Henry, I know you hate the blues too, so. This is on Pickwick. And it's scratched to shit, and it's crackling stack of wax that jumps and skips, and it's also, I don't know why I keep buying records on Pickwick. It's like I just hope one day they won't be garbage, but it's Pickwick. Pickwick was like this catch-all, garbagey label that made cheap records and bought like recordings from people that sold recordings, so a lot of the things on Pickwick were released onto their labels, or they're things from early in somebody's career. I think like there's like weird Hendrix stuff on Pickwick. And anyway, this was $2, so this was a scratch beat up $2 record that I got at the same time as Jack McDuff, but this was, you know, this was a total loss, and it's just a crackling stack of wax. And no, I don't actually hate the blues. I really like a certain type of blues. I really dislike live blues music in general. I don't need to ever hear, you know, Mustang Sally again in my life. I have a friend who is a blues musician, and he performs with a couple guys from Downchild Blues Band out of Canada here when they're not playing with Downchild, and they're fucking incredible, and to go see them is an awesome time. But that kind of, they're great, but the kind of feel good, when we were in Chicago, we went and saw blues, and it was awful. That kind of feel good tourist blues that's just the same old songs played over and over again, Mustang Sally, stuff like that, doesn't work for me. The music on this record is good, like, and the performance is good. There's a lot of acoustic guitar stuff, acoustic blues, which I think is just wonderful. And I'm definitely going to look for more Lightnin Hopkins, but this one is on its way out of my life. I'll go dollar bin or wherever the hell that'll go. And finally, the last one is Larry McNeely with Geoff, Levin, and Jack Skinner, and I think this is called Confederation. Yeah, it is. And this is on Sheffield Labs. So this was an interesting record to pull out in the midst of all of that stuff I'd heard earlier. So Sheffield Labs is direct-to-disc recordings, and probably one of the best companies that ever did direct-to-disc recordings. A couple others were really good. There's one that was located in Toronto that was really good. This is bluegrass direct-to-disc, so I've never heard bluegrass direct-to-disc, and I'm not a fan of bluegrass. I actually like bluegrass. I know absolutely nothing about it. I listen to it in the car sometime on the satellite radio. Um, I've seen it live. I've really enjoyed it then. But I'm not somebody who knows like what the standards are in bluegrass or anything like that. But this was a great listen to. I mean, the reason I got this at a show out of a dollar bin, surprisingly, this can sell for like between 20 and 50 bucks. So, but it has a little scratch on the very first track that ticks for like a minute and a half. So obviously that's why the person got rid of it. But Sheffield Lab direct to disc. So what that means is I'll show the label too. The Sheffield Lab label is kind of unique. It's green and it always says that, I think that's a petunia. It always says that petunia. I don't know. Conrad can tell us. I believe that's petunia. It always has that on it, or it has it on the cover. And there was another label that put out direct to discs that like after Sheffield Lab had already established themselves in the marketplace as being a leader. It also came with an insert with lyrics, which is kind of cool. There's another label that did it, and like I think they called themselves like Black Orchid or something, and they had like they were going for the same look. They had the little flower on the label and the whole deal. I don't know if I showed the inside of that. I would say this is unusual for direct-to-disc. Direct-to-disc was typically jazz and classical music, and most of the Sheffield Lab stuff is jazz. I have a bunch of it. Most of it's jazz and classical music. And I mean, if you could say anything about, if I could say anything about direct-to-disc records in general, is they typically sound absolutely amazing, and this sounds pretty good. This doesn't quite work in the same way some of the other direct-to-discs have. But anyways, they typically sound amazing, but often the performances are very slightly stiff and lacking a certain feel, because the musicians, you know, they record these things and they literally record right onto the master. Comes out of the mic through the sound, through the board in the booth, and it goes out to the cutting lathe. And if they make a mistake, they have to stop, take the plate off the lathe, throw it away, put another one on, and start again. And they have to play like for 18 to 25 minutes perfectly. And there's a guy out there, you know, there's a mastering engineer at the lathe as it's happening, making adjustments for volume and stuff like that. So typically the performances are a little stiff and they're a little stunted. The performances on this were great. Obviously these, you know, bluegrass, these guys are just used to playing, and on here they just play and it sounds, you know, fantastic. So I'm going to keep this. This was interesting. Another interesting note is, I don't know why, but this record is dedicated to L. Ron Hubbard. Maybe they were a fan of his science fiction novels. So that's it. That's the end of today's stack. And I've been able to clear 18 records out of the inbox, and that's fantastic because I went and bought 18 records yesterday. So when I was digging for 8 hours and got 6, so you know, I broke even so far. I haven't added to the inbox. So anyway, thanks Henry for the numbers, and thanks for watching everybody. Have a great day and keep the record spinning.